Hello, today we're going to be talking about how China are helping many other countries around the world in the fight against COVID-19. So the reason I've decided to make this video is a couple of days ago I was surfing on the internet, just reading news as I do often, and I came across this article by Sky News which was trying to suggest that by China donating and exporting vaccine to many countries, it was actually a negative thing. And they used the term vaccine favoritism, but doing a bit more research, I found this sort of term that was going around called vaccine diplomacy. So I want to explore that a bit more, but before we do, let's first have a look at the article. So here we have the article, and the article is written by a Tom Cheshire, an Asian correspondent. I'm not aware who this person is actually. But if you read the headline, COVID-19, China's vaccine favoritism risks damaging global fight against pandemic, says expert. So there's a couple of things I want to say here. First of all, that there's a lot of people that will only read the headline or the sub-headline of an article and won't go in to read the full body of the article. And it's kind of interesting with this one because at the end of the headline it says expert, but if you then continue to read the article, there's no expert which suggests that it's a negative thing and that it is damaging to the global fight against the pandemic. The only person who seems to be saying that is Tom Cheshire himself, who obviously is the author of the article. If you scroll a little further down, and this is again put in bold text, China's vaccine favoritism could be damaging public health efforts amid the COVID-19 pandemic, a leading expert has told Sky News. But yet again, there's no evidence brought forward, there's no expert to suggest that it is damaging to public health efforts at all. And then the article goes on to say how China has donated vaccines to 53 countries and exported them to 27 more. They then get some quotes from a Dr. Jennifer Bowie, but in none of those quotes does she suggest that what China are doing is in any way negative whatsoever. So you can just see from this article how it's tried to paint China in a negative light for its vaccine distribution to other countries. I even found that vaccine diplomacy has its own page on Wikipedia. And according to Wikipedia, vaccine diplomacy is defined as the use of vaccines to improve a country's diplomatic relationship and influence other countries. And what I find absolutely amazing is that so far China have helped more than 50 countries by distributing vaccines to them. Somehow Western media finds a way to spin that as a negative. I think we can all agree that it's highly likely China will become better friends with those countries that it helps. That's pretty normal. You know, you help someone and they appreciate that help, and at some time in the future they may help you back. But let's ask the question, what's the price of that friendship? The health and well-being of millions of people? To be able to travel, to be able to trade freely as we did before the pandemic. China has never been seen to use its diplomatic power to force regime change or encourage other countries to do business with it at the exclusion of others. China always looks for a win-win situation for all parties concerned. And vaccines are no different. Even though China is shipping vaccines to a number of EU countries, it's probably going to make no difference to those countries, and it certainly isn't going to make any difference to the USA or the other Five Eyes nations. All the so-called vaccine diplomacy is going to do is help those people in those countries, which in my book is a good thing. By mid-March, China had vaccinated about 50 million people, and there's a number of experts here suggesting that by the end of the year, maybe 80% of the population will be vaccinated. That lags somewhat far behind what countries like the USA and the UK have done. And many people may ask why that is. Why are China exporting all these vaccines when they haven't vaccinated their own people? So countries like the USA and the UK, they've had massive amounts of COVID-19 cases, and for them the vaccine has been kind of a last resort. It's only since they've started rolling out the vaccine that case numbers have been dropping, and they have finally looked as though they're bringing the situation there under control. But if you contrast that with China, China have had the coronavirus under control for many months. Literally now there's just handfuls of cases popping up here and there, and many of those are cases of people coming back into the country, either people visiting the country or Chinese nationals coming back into the country, and they've been infected while they've been abroad. So there's really no mass urgency to get the Chinese population vaccinated like there's an urgency in countries where they haven't been able to control the pandemic. And I think that's the reason why, you know, China are sending so many vaccines to other countries, you know, and they've been accused of cherry picking, and that's really not the case. I think, you know, if you look at the US, they sort of made a statement that they needed to get all their own people vaccinated, and they refused to ship vaccine to Mexico, where China have shipped vaccine to many of its neighbouring countries. And one of the main reasons they want to do that is the sooner those countries get vaccinated and the virus stops spreading in those countries, the sooner China can open back up its borders to those countries, so we can, you know, resume free travel, free trade, free business, and things will start to get back to normal. The quicker they do it, the quicker things will get back to normal. Another factor in this is China's ability to manufacture at large scale. China have the ability to manufacture not millions but billions of vaccines, and they deal with a population of 1.4 billion people. So they are really switched on and geared up to be able to deal with large scale manufacturing, much larger than many other countries around the world. And so far, China have donated vaccines to more than 50 countries and done deals with a further 27 to supply vaccines. Personally, I think news reporters shouldn't be concerned with vaccine diplomacy. Pretty much everybody around the world is going to need to be vaccinated, and it's important the people who need it most get it first. And that's what China are trying to do. You know, I personally believe China are doing a great job of getting the vaccine out there to people who wouldn't normally be getting it. And I think it's terrible that the West are trying to politicize the distribution of vaccines.